friends, Rebecca here, your friendly neighborhood dragon librarian, and I'm here today with Gally, and we've got a couple books to talk to you about that I'm really excited about. And they're books that just have brought a smile to my face. I really love them. They touch me so deeply and brought me a lot of joy, and I hope that they will do the same for you. So there is a big theme connecting both of these books, even though one is nonfiction and one is fiction, and that is that they are books about books. I've definitely talked about books before. I love to do it because I think there's so many good ones out there, right? And I also wanted to do that now for a very specific reason, which we're at the very end of February. We're going to be in March next week. Hopefully we'll be getting some spring, some warmer weather, but March also brings with us National Reading Month, which is really cool and exciting. So what better time is there to read about books, specifically books about books, than in March, right? So if you're looking for something really fun to pick up during reading month, or whenever really, here are two that I think you will really enjoy. So let's start with the nonfiction one, okay? This is called Every Day I Read, 53 Ways to Get Closer to Books, and this is by Hwang Reum. Every Day I Read. Isn't that just the coziest, most beautiful cover ever? Oh, I love it so much. Now she's the same author of the book, Welcome to the Hunam Bookshop, which is really fantastic book as well. And this is a nonfiction book. Now when it says 53 Ways to Get Closer to Books, this book is very short. I said it was nonfiction. If you are not a person who generally loves nonfiction, which, I mean, I'll be honest, sometimes nonfiction isn't my jam. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. This book is perfect for you, whether you love or don't love nonfiction. Because they are literally just teeny little chapters, 53 short chapters, some of them only a page, that all talk about different ways that you can read and love books. So for example, just to give you a little: read bestsellers, read beyond bestsellers, always have a book with you, choose books, not the internet, bed, night, and lights, favorite author, books and drinks, the next book to read. Like, just all kinds of different things. Some of them are not, it says 53 ways to get closer to books, but some of these chapters are really just about loving books and what they can do for you. So you don't have to read this book like all at once, even though it is rather short. How I did it was I would read a couple chapters a day. It took me like a week to read this book, and I just read a few chapters a day, and each one was just like a little tiny glimmer of light. And I mean, obviously I love books. I don't really need 53 more ways to get closer to books. I mean, look around, right? Could I possibly be any closer to books? But this book was really fun. It's not really meant to be like, oh, you're not reading? Here's ways to read more. It's more like, oh, you love books? Let's talk about it. Let's sit for a moment in that feeling of love that you have for books and talk about it. And that's what this book is. I loved it so much. There's two things specifically I want to mention in here that I thought were really poignant. So the one is that really resonated with me is a lot of times people ask me, like, you know, how do you remember everything you read? I read a lot, and I read a lot of books a year. Last year it was like over 350. I'm already at 60, according to my counter, 66 books so far this year. I'm churning them out, right? So people ask me often, particularly patrons, like, well, how do you remember everything? I mean, and I don't. That's the short answer, is I don't remember everything. I remember how a book made me feel. I remember basically the main plot line of books and characters, but sometimes I forget the characters' names. The longer it's been since I've read it, sometimes I'll have to reread it to remember a lot of things, and that's okay. And one of the things that she mentions in this book that I thought was just really cool was that reading isn't about remembrance, but the change that can come from reading a book. I believe this is why we read, and I feel comforted knowing that if I am a slightly different person after reading a book, it's okay if I don't remember every word. And that's so true, right? Like, you don't have to remember everything that happened in a book, or every character's name, or every plot device to really love or resonate with a book. It just has to change you while you're reading it. It has to give you an emotional reaction, or you feel delighted or sad or angry when you're reading a book. And that's the important thing. The point isn't to remember it 10 years down the line. It's that it changed you while you were reading it, even if it was just a little bit. And the other thing, even better, this next quote is my favorite, I think, in the whole book. Books may not give me answers, but they nudge me towards the right direction. I keep their words close to my heart. Knowing that I'm not navigating life alone makes me feel a little more courageous and a little less unsure. That's so true, right? Books can be the best friends, the biggest comfort ever. And, you know, they don't have to give you answers. They just have to push you in the right direction or show you something maybe you hadn't thought of before. And books, above all else, can make you feel like you're not alone. They're just absolutely wonderful. So if you're looking for a way to enhance reading, to embrace how much you love books, or even if you are somebody who's looking to read more this year, Every Day I Read, definitely check this out. Okay, so that was the nonfiction one. The fiction book I want to talk about is called This Book Made Me Think of You by Libby Page. Now, I had heard about this book. It was sort of on my radar a tiny bit, but then one of my coworkers and friends was telling me about it, and she was very excited. And we went to the bookstore together one day, and she picked up a copy, and then I picked up a copy too. And of course, I couldn't be chill and wait to read it with her. I had to just immediately dive in and finish it very quickly because that's who I am as a person, unfortunately. So This Book Made Me Think of You was a very beautiful, it's just a feel-good book. But that's not to say that it doesn't have depth or intense emotions too, because it does. So this book is about a woman named Tilly, whose husband, at the start of the book, her husband had passed away 6 months prior. And she's still very much grieving. Everybody grieves differently, right? For lots of different reasons. You can grieve for somebody dying. You can grieve for a relationship failing. You can grieve for opportunities passing. Like, there's lots of different ways to grieve. So Tilly is still really, really grieving her husband. And she used to be a huge bookworm. In fact, that's where her and her husband met, is they met in this big, beautiful bookstore. He was not a reader, but they met in this bookstore and their relationship started from there. And she loves books. Books are her whole life. But since her husband passed away, Joe, she hasn't been able to read. She has not been able to pick up a book or read anything at all. So imagine her surprise when she gets a phone call from this local bookstore and the bookstore owner tells her, "Hey, you've got this package here that was ordered for you, and it was ordered for you by Joe." And she's like, "What are you talking about? That's my husband and he's dead. He couldn't have ordered a book for me." So she goes into the store and she discovers from the bookseller telling her that before Joe passed away, he placed an order with the bookstore for 12 books to be delivered on the first of the month for Tilly to come and pick it up for a gift. Every month she gets a new book that was a gift picked out for her by Joe. And it's a year of reading. This is the gift that he is giving her that he did before he passed away. A gift of reading to try to get her back into what she loved so, so, so much. That's hard to even get through that summary without like getting choked up, because that's just so beautiful, right? Like, it's absolutely beautiful. So at first Tilly's upset, she's angry, she doesn't know what to feel. She takes the book home. The first book ends up being Matilda. And that is the book that she first started talking about with Joe. And she is like, you know what? It's the book she was named after. And she's like, I can't deal with this. But as the days pass and she's thinking about it more, she's like, you know what? It's a kid's book. I can pick it up real easily. It's not a big deal. It's not a big stress. She picks it up and she falls completely in love with it again, like she used to, with this book and with reading in general. And she begins to realize, as she comes every month to the bookstore to pick up the new book, is that she's really withdrawn herself from the world. She's pulled away from her family and friends. She's basically just an automaton going through life, which, I mean, completely understandable, right? After what she's gone through. And every month these books, and then she starts doing more things. Like, there is a book about camping, which Joe always wanted to do with her. There is a book about running. There is a book about cooking. There's just fiction books and nonfiction books, and some of the books are to get her to try new things, and some of the books are to get her to step out of her comfort zone, and some of the books are just to bring joy. And as she goes through the years, she starts to find not only herself again, but her joy again and her reason for living again as she becomes friends with the bookstore owner, Arthur, and, you know, the other people that work in the bookstore, and she just starts realizing what she wants out of life, right? I thought this book was so beautiful. Yes, of course, there are a couple aspects of it that are a little bit out of the realm of belief, I think, a little bit. Like, it definitely leans more on the emotional side of things and the practical side of things, but it doesn't matter. Like, this is just such a feel-good book, but also dealing in a really beautiful and healthy way about grief and life, and basically also, of course, the love of books. In fact, one thing that I really loved is that in the beginning of each part of the book, which is the month that you're going into, right, that she's going to pick up a book, there are book recommendations. Like, for example, January, books to read when you don't feel like reading, and then there's like 4 or 5, and for every month it's the same thing, and it's really, really cool. So yes, I think if you are a book lover, you will absolutely adore this book, but I also think you will love this book if you are somebody who has experienced grief, particularly the loss of a loved one. If you are a person that is just really interested in good feel-good stories, this is a really fantastic book. I'm still feeling the joy that I felt when I finished this book. Like, it's still with me, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So this is just such a feel-good book about books that is absolutely wonderful. This book made me think of you. Well, that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope that both of these books sound really fun and interesting, and you might want to give them a try. If so, please feel free to pick them up from Farmington Community Library. And I really appreciate you watching, friends, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.